That department, Section 8 housing for the federal government, is about as much of a punchline as the Department of Education. If you got worse scores 50 years after you started a company, would you still be in business? No. And that's this, and HUD is the same exact thing as the Department of Education. We have to see improvement and policies that create improvement. Otherwise, what are we doing? We're just literally lighting money on fire.
Folks, we have to seriously talk about the Section 8 program. I don't know if you have seen, but the news is all aflutter. Apparently, there is talk about the elimination of the Section 8 vouchers or the Housing Choice Voucher Program. It's a major policy change. It looks like Trump's administration budget for 2026 is expected to cut, if not eliminate, HUD's vital affordable housing programs. If you are a landlord, you likely know about the Section 8 program. If you're one of the three amigos, you undoubtedly have a significant portion of your rentals in Section 8. Some of us call that diversification risk management. But damn it, if the program disappears, what then? What happens to the landlords? What happens to the tenants? Does homelessness just explode? Does rents fall? Perhaps we got to talk about this and more. We always go in the order that people came on, and Matt, you were here first today. So talk about the Section 8 program and the fact that it may just disappear and go bye-bye.
Super awesome. Let's do it, guys. Let's do it. I think it's fantastic. I would love to see the program eliminated. A bunch of administrators in that program are complete clowns. They've never actually run a real business. They don't have to create revenue. All they have to do is ask for more and then be told what they're going to be given. So, and they're not even good money managers. I've worked with many of them. They're, quite frankly, they're really bad at their jobs. They likely couldn't hold a private sector job in management, even if it was a shift supervisor at your local donut shop. So it's kind of a punchline. I think that they should absolutely get rid of it, because I think that what needs to happen is this: since the election, those people in those positions have basically ignored common sense. It's far worse than it was before. I had a tenant pass away, not in my unit, but she passed away. She was in the hospital. She passed away. And they reclaimed her voucher in 10 days and said, we're not paying you for May. And she died 10 days before the end of May. Okay. What if I tried to do that to a tenant? Could I do that to a tenant? Just go, sorry, beyond circumstances, beyond my control, you're out. And in 10 days. So get on it.
So hold on. Okay. You're clearly in a state of angst. You've clearly had some recent interactions that have pissed you off and annoyed you. But if we step back and look at your portfolio, isn't it like 20% of your portfolio is Section 8? Let's start there. What is it roughly?
Yeah, 7. So it's about 17%.
All right, we'll round it to 20% for easy math. So I just want to play this out. So again, Section 8 disappears off the face of the earth. You now have 20% of your tenants who frankly can't pay, because I'm sure, like me, some of those tenants are paying $0, some are paying $8, right? It's the government covers some, if not most. So you're going to have a problem. You're going to have 20% of your units go into eviction. You're going to have 20% of your units have to be turned. And oh, by the way, I think in some markets, Section 8 is the floor for pricing, or maybe it's the ceiling in others. So you could really get into a market where this would hurt you if you had a 20% turn and loss of rent collection. No?
Well, I mean, that's the difference between the men and the boys. I'm willing to take some medicine to make the system right. I'm willing to take that medicine and go, 20%. Yeah, I guess I'm going to have to take that hit for 6 months or a year or whatever. And we'll figure it out. We'll turn those units and we'll get them into people's hands that want nice, clean, safe, affordable housing, and people that are actually showing up for jobs and they don't have 19 excuses why they can't hold down a job. So there are a very small number based on fact now. It always was theory, but now it's fact. The 17% of my portfolio, very few of those people actually really, truly need Section 8's help. Most of them are just completely gaming the system, and they're too lazy, and they're better at filling out paperwork because they're willing to take that pain than actually showing up and having to work during the day. So yeah, kill the program. Love it. Start with me.
There you go. Well, that's one opinion. Dion, you're on the opposite coast. Obviously, Matt's on the East Coast. You're on the West Coast. You've been very clear over the years that you actually use Section 8 or housing assistance as a diversification risk mitigation process. So I got to ask you, are you equally passionate because of some recent interactions? You want this program to disappear? You're willing to take the hit to 30% of your portfolio? What's going on with you? What happens if Section 8 disappears?
So first, I want to compliment you on letting Matt going first. And I want to compliment Matt on flipping the switch that quick. And it's obvious that Matt has kids, because you can go from guys talking before you hit record, the language would offend everybody. Then you hit record and all of a sudden it's like Matt's kids are in the room and he's like, well, gosh darn, this tooting, that's totally different language all of a sudden. Good job, Matt.
I do requests. I do requests.
Thank you.
One of the reasons I go 1/3 Section 8 and diversify that way is because this could happen at any point in time. Any legislation can happen, any funding crisis can happen, and the program can go away. Military can downsize. I was pushed out of the Marines. I'm sure around the bases when the downsizing was happening, there was an impact to the rentals in the area. BAH could stall for a few years. We could have a mass recession where we have layoffs that, it doesn't impact Section 8 or the military as much, but it hits those civilian working or retired tenants that I have. So I've structured my portfolio around being able to have rents reduced by 50% and still not have to go back to work. And it's not just because since we started tracking the data in 1940, rents have never once gone down. Mine was my portfolio could be impacted something like a third relatively quick. If there's a prolonged government shutdown and the military just doesn't get paid for a couple of months, that can impact me. So I've planned for this. I'm okay with it. I know that my Section 8 tenants, I don't want to say gaming the system, but absolutely shouldn't be receiving the benefit. I haven't met a Section 8 tenant yet. When I first acquired a property, there was an older couple on disability, and I can go, okay, they're barely ambulatory. It's a good program. Right. So to go into it depends on where you're getting your news source from on what's actually in the proposal, because if you listen to the left, it's going to go away. If you listen to the right, it's being reallocated to the states. There's no reduction, and the exact same articles came out in 2018. So on social media, on Facebook, every time somebody panics in the Section 8 Facebook groups, I just post the link to here's what it was said exactly word for word in 2018, and none of this happened. So somebody explain to me.
So let's step back, because really what you're highlighting is, again, fact that a lot of the media, and frankly myself included when I opened this video, right, I sensationalized the heading, right, because that's just how the game works. But what you're basically saying is this is not a new message. President Trump seems to be very focused on taking away from the federal government and pushing more and more things, not only this program, but lots of other things to the state. Think about education. Same thing. He's like, get rid of this, federal bureaucracy and push more and more things to the state. So what you're saying, Dion, if I hear you correctly, is in, Trump 1.0, his first administration, he had the same goal and plan to push it to the state. And you have some articles highlighting that the dollars aren't going anywhere. It's just going to the state. So this thought of Matt losing 20%, you losing 30% is misguided poppycock.
Right. Because what Trump is really good at, well, he's bad at several things, like someone block his social media account. Right? That was great. But he's really good at saying, here's this thing, let's create some panic. Like, I'm going to call it the Gulf of America. Everybody freaks out. The left is in full panic. And he's like, here you go. I've sealed the border. Everyone's going over here. Look at this panic mayhem. So the Section 8 scare put it out there that he wants to do it. What's in the other hand? What's he going to get done while everyone's freaking out about this? Because I'm with Matt. I would really like the program to go almost to zero and be qualified for, limited to a 2-year for an able-bodied adult. Like, I totally get it. If you're the spouse and your wife is the breadwinner, or your husband's the breadwinner, and you get a divorce or they pass away, we should have a social program, a net to catch you and go, hey, let's get you back on your feet. It's probably going to take like 2 years, right? Not the tenant that I have that, I don't know, has X number of kids. The number changes every time you go to the house. gets free. Has been on it for like 23 years. Plans on being the program for the rest of her life. And I'm like, I'm sitting here going, hey, $3,000 a month is kind of nice. That's more than I was getting from non-Section 8 in this area. But man, it would be nice if it would go away. And then Matt has, I think, one of the issues that I have, the program is often mismanaged. So I would actually love to see Doge go in and just say, hey, let's find the frayed waste and abuse and management weakness. I've got 2 counties. I invest in 3 now, but there's 2 counties I invest in. One, I've had Section 8 tenants since I've owned rentals. And the other one, I will never work with the Section 8 program because of the people who work at the office. And not to name them, but Pierce County, Washington is the county I would never own a rental in because for Section 8, because of how they run that office.
Right.
So I'll jump on this and we'll just put this one to bed. I think, as somebody who's had Section 8 for 20 plus years, somebody who grew up in an environment where housing was insecure, I am not with you two guys. I think there is plenty of reasons to have a Section 8 program. I would be disappointed if it disappeared. I will agree with you that I would like to see more guardrails because there's clearly gaming of the system. Whether it's a 2-year cap or a 5-year cap, there has to be some more rigor on requalification. Like you, I've had a lot of people think Section 8 and they just think single moms with lots of kids. And, that certainly does happen. However, there's a lot of retirees and folks on pensions and that just, they're at that point in life where you're 71 years old, you can't, there's nothing left to do. So I do not want to see the program go away. I think it does more good than bad. I think there's obviously bad. There's waste, fraud, and abuse in it. I would love to see Doge or something Doge-like go in there. I do think that the program, to both your points, really is good or bad based on the people that work there, right? You talked about Pierce County. Those people are not doing their job or they think they're more powerful. I don't know what it is, but they're not doing their job. So you don't supply the units. It kind of hurts the people that need it. So I do think it would be interesting to go in and, I don't know what it's called, audit or, get better people. That's just get more business oriented people to manage it as opposed to people kind of trying to push paperwork through. A lot of these government programs become about how well I can fill out the paperwork versus, do the program. So, and then the last thing, if you go back to where Section 8 of the voucher program came from, it was in the Great Depression. Let's not forget its origin. And I think in the Great Depression, it starting as a federal program made sense. I don't think the states were at a point where they could do it. So I think creating a federal program makes sense. But I will agree that it should be done at the state level. I think a lot more things should be done at the state level and as opposed to the federal level. So I'm certainly not in your guys' camp. I do not want to see the program go away. Could it get more efficient? Could it get smaller? Could there be rules of the road to requalify? That's what annoys me, right? Because I've had some tenants for decades plus who are gaming the system, who are able-bodied people. Go ahead.
But I think you want exactly what Deanna and I want. We want it run by the states. We want it run by effective people. We want to make sure that there's no waste, fraud, and abuse. I'm not saying by any stretch, no help for anybody. Not what I said. I said
that's not what I kind of felt when you were on your tear.
No,
so clean that up.
Well, truthfully, exactly what it is I want what percentage of your Section 8 tenants are the tenant you spoke of, 71 and retired and housing insecure? Is it 20%?
I haven't gone to that level in years. So I want to tell you from my experience, I bet you it's half. Half are somewhat gaming to really gaming the system, and the other half just need the help, right?
I think you need to re-audit. I think it's time. Okay. Honestly, I think it's time for you to audit it because I think you'd be blown away with who they let in the program now. Because again, you got to remember, I'm new to Section 8 in the last 3.5 years, thanks to you guys, jerks. So I'm new to Section 8 in the last 3.5 years, and I can tell you the quality of tenant that I see them place. They're 80% of the phone calls. They're less than 20% of my portfolio, and
Well,
almost every
that
but
doesn't
almost
mean
every,
anything.
of course it does. They live
No,
in the
I mean,
same, of course, they live in the same units that all these other guys live in. They live in
okay.
the same exact unit, nothing different.
All right, Dion.
Matt did that to himself. I know.
100%.
We're kind of agreeing here. I have Section 8 tenants, not one of them with below a 700 credit score. Period. I'd rather have
Yeah,
the
but
vacant go to a non-Section 8. So you're going, I want 20%. So I lower my standards. I take in bad credit. I take in
nope,
bad credit eviction
no.
history because you've told me,
They're,
you've said it in videos.
they're the same. We use the same criteria across the board for everybody. The only thing that changes for a Section 8 tenant is it's not 3x income. That's the only thing that changes. The credit still has to be there, but the income doesn't, because I can't make it that. If they made that income, they wouldn't be on Section 8.
Right.
So
Sure.
so the criteria is same credit score, same making sure they're paying their portion, and they have to make 3x what their responsibility and their portion is. They
Sure.
still have to make the 3x. What doesn't change, because it has to, or what has to change, is the income side of it. But again, I think the core to this is, how many, so you've got 18 units, you've got 2 Section 8 people that are 700 credit scores. I'm pretty sure if you polled all of Section 8, you probably have 2 of the 9 people with 700 credit scores. How many, Mike, look at your portfolio. Look how many people actually have 700 credit scores on Section 8.
But yeah. Mike nailed it when he said it's not the person with a bunch of kids. Section 8 is not low income, Matt. It's fixed income. So
I
understand, but I think
Section 8 that I've had has almost always been a disabled veteran.
Yeah.
I've had probably 1 or 2 that was the single parent that was going through the whatever. And it's usually 3 or 4 of the portfolio, or sometimes 2. It depends. It's never a perfect ratio.
Sure.
But just screen. You screen, like you said, if you're doing it exactly like your other tenants. My Section 8 tenants are rarely the issue because they have a voucher that they can lose.
Yeah.
My military tenants are rarely an issue because they have a chain of command I can call.
I think you'd be shocked at how often those vouchers get taken away, because I've been down that path. I got someone's voucher taken away. It is not what you think it is. There were 15 of them that could have been taken away, and 1 actually got taken away. And it was because there was drugs and all this other stuff. I'm just telling you, you guys, I mean, again, Dion, it for you, based on the percentage of your portfolio, it's 2. Mike, I know it's about 40% of your portfolio. I would re-audit it, because I think what you'd find, since you last audited it maybe 5 years ago, I think what you would find is that it's a massive shift over who they're letting in, who is in the program, and who got all these vouchers. Biden expanded this program 20% in his presidency, and almost no people know that.
So let's talk about that. We'll wrap this subject up. So again, Biden did increase the program, but the problem with that is there wasn't more supply. That's I don't know if you guys have this in your area, but in my market, I think there's there are thousands of vouchers out there, but no supply. So again, you can go ahead and increase supply, get more vouchers, but unless there's more supply, it just doesn't freaking matter, which is good for me, because I could be very selective, right? I can hold those tenants to the same criteria. So I know this when I look at my problem properties, right? Which I look at, and to me, problem properties, lion's share of them are cash tenants. I don't get the weekly calls or whatever. It sounds like your Section 8 tenants are more picky. I mean, it certainly does happen, but I don't see that in my portfolio. But to your point, I haven't done a diligence on this in 5 years. I haven't had to. I have a Friday call with my team, and I'll make it all about Section 8, and I'll report back next week or the week after. That's a reasonable request.
Yeah, just see if it shifted. Just see if it shifted in your market. Because in my market, it's absolutely shifted. I completely understand that it's, Section 8 isn't only for poor people. It's not, that's not the thing. The issue is that what I do see consistently is the wrong people ending up with vouchers, where it's like, this makes no sense that you're getting that voucher.
The thing to me about the vouchers, I'm not going to argue the fact whether they get it, because there has to be a set of criteria to get it, I'm sure. The problem I have is keeping it. That's where I kind of go.
Totally agree with you.
You were in a bad spot 2 years ago. You're an able-bodied person. You shouldn't be in a bad spot 2 years after.
Agreed.
And if you are, you're gaming the system. That's where I think it needs to be cleaned up. Is
Totally
on the
agree.
renewal. And that's where I would focus if I was Doge.
I-
Because again, upfront criteria, I'm not going to argue. People get in bad spots all the time. But let's clean up the renewals, so we can help more people. The idea about cleaning up the renewals is you can actually help more people, right?
Of
'Cause you get
course.
new people in bad situations.
Well,
So,
that's the thing is if you can get them to get a job where Section 8's not paying 100% of their rent and their ass is
Right.
home 24/7, you can
Right.
actually help two people if you're only paying half their rent.
exactly.
So that's where the whole mindset and the way the program's run has to shift. And I believe from a state perspective, where we are, we don't have counties that run it. We have towns.
Oh, okay.
We have towns. We're just down a town. So it's like a tiny little town of 17,000 people. They have 300 vouchers and they have a staff that manages those vouchers. And
Gotcha.
the problem is that there needs to be far better management, because when I have a problem and I try and go up chain, it gets ignored. It doesn't get listened to. That department, Section 8 housing for the federal government, is about as much of a punchline as the Department of Education. If you got worse scores 50 years after you started a company, would you still be in business? No. And and HUD is the same exact thing as the Department of Education. We have to see improvement and policies that create improvement. Otherwise, what are we doing? We're just literally lighting money on fire. And I'd rather help a lot more people with 50% than help a lot of people that don't deserve it at 100%.
There you go. Well, folks, at the end of the day, go ahead, Dion.
Right, the real challenge is how you get somebody off of a program.
That's where I would focus. Yes.
Where the empathy comes in is, so I ran a nonprofit that did job placement assistance with about 1,200 employers, and we'd get people jobs a lot. And then the people would be communicating with me saying, hey, I make 16, 17 bucks an hour. The company wants to give me a raise. How do I tell them no?
Yeah.
Because they get child daycare subsidy. That's like $2,000 a month.
Exactly.
They get EBT. They get these benefits. They get the healthcare. And if they got a little bit of a raise, they lose a $2,000 a month benefit for a $500 a month increase. And so what a lot of the employers are doing, which it wasn't my company, so I could say this on YouTube transparently, is they would keep the wage low and do bonuses because the bonuses didn't count. So it was a way to keep people. I mean, the solution has to be an exit strategy.
Agreed. That's where the focus is.
Right.
Yeah. At the end of the day, folks, point number one, Section 8 program is not disappearing. Could you imagine thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of people out on the street? No government official wants that. Should it be at the federal level or the state level? I think state level is far closer to the consumer, gives uniqueness to the states. I think that is a net positive. So at the end of the day, Matt, where can people find you?
Lumberjack Landlord, and all my opinions on live streams 9 p.m. Eastern time on Thursdays. And I get passionate about stuff because how else is it going to change?
Dion, where can they find you?
Right here on YouTube, Dion Talk Financial Freedom, where I do a live stream every Tuesday that lasts as long as the questions do.
Awesome, guys. You're amazing. Thanks again, guys.